Good morning, English 2 students. Today we are going to take a little bit of a look at the rest of the research project. So at this point, you guys are about two-thirds, halfway to two-thirds of the way through. Today we're going to learn about the very last part and what you need in order to be ready to complete your research and actually complete your slides. So there's two things that we're going to accomplish with this video today. The first is to preview the remainder of the slides that you will be creating for this project, most of which will seem a little confusing at this point because we haven't talked about them in class. So it's just that, it's a preview. The next thing we will do is look at how you're going to organize your research log. Okay. All right. So very first thing, we are taking a look back at the presentation exemplar. This is still posted on Google Classroom, so whenever you need to go back to this, to preview this for yourself, and when we eventually go to take a look at the slides, you will be able to access them on Google Classroom. Okay. Further, the templates that you should have been using from Google Classroom also included all of these slides. So if you deleted slides off of your template, you'll need to add them back when we actually go to create this. All right, let's go ahead and get started. You guys ended your set of slides for the midway unit presentation with categories of evidence, right? We spent some time in class looking at economic, social, and political categories of evidence. Today, we're going to continue talking about that, okay? So after that, you had a works cited that just looked at the links. The first thing that you guys are going to have an opportunity to do is choose really a focus category. And you'll see that for this presentation, we chose social. After that, you're going to have a handful of slides that really dig into the specifics of that social category, directly comparing the United States and your foreign country. Right? So it'll include infographics and information about those infographics on each slide. We're going to take a specific look at subcategories within the category of social and the research questions that relate to it. So we're going to dig back into how do you create effective research questions and what part of your research is actually corresponding to those questions. Okay. After that, we'll be talking about kind of what the importance of the research is, okay, the so what of the research, okay, why it matters, and looking at specific research related to that question that you found. After that, we'll be looking at strengths and limitations of that research that you've done, okay, so basically what information is out there on your topic and what limitations does that research have? So what are you not able to understand as a result of the research that you've done? Okay. You'll continue by sharing a bit of the key information that you had, okay, and actually analyzing that information. So instead of just saying, here's what we found, you're going to draw conclusions about it and make meaning from it, okay? This will be one of the tougher parts of the project. Much like analysis with a book or with an informational text, you guys are going to be drawing logical conclusions that's directly rooted in the evidence that you've found, right? And again, that's a skill that we will need to go over. Okay. Ultimately, you will be drawing conclusions from this research, okay, ending with new research questions. If you guys remember back to when we watched the TED Talk in the very beginning of the unit, we said that the end of the research cycle is all about unfinished business, right? It's how are you going to keep questioning or really move people forward to keep thinking about your topics? That's where you'll end. And the very last thing is a works cited. And you'll notice that this works cited is not just links, but it's actually an MLA format works cited. So for your final presentation, you will be required to have an MLA format works cited, which again is something we will review at the very end. Okay, and then after you're done with your works cited, you'll see that there is a space for reflections. Clearly, these are blank. We'll go over what is required of these when this is due. All right. So again, this is just a brief overview of what's coming up, what key skills we're going to be working on. We need to look more at these categories and subcategories of your US and foreign research. We're going to be looking at the so what of the research, right? The strengths and limitations of the research. Okay, learning how to actually analyze our research and draw conclusions from that, right? And then ending with additional research questions. Today, however, before we can even take a look at those or get started on them, you really need to organize your research log. So if you up to this point have not done that, today is the day when you have to, okay? So what we're gonna do is actually go into the research log. All right, hopefully this document looks very familiar to you at this point. The sections that you are going to be working on most directly today, okay, are the last three up here. So the US research, okay, foreign research, and categories. By the end of this log, or by the end of this video, you should know that what's going to happen is you're actually going to come in and you are going to be able to delete some things that have been in your log so far so that it's not as huge and hard to navigate. Okay, but before you can do that, you have to organize it. So this should be review at this point. You should have already done this, but the first thing you're going to want to do today, right, is click on US Research, okay? And for this log, okay, you have space for the links for each of your articles, for the key ideas from those articles, to look at which research question relates to those key ideas, and to talk about how you are going to use it. And this is specifically, okay, which slide of your presentation will this information go into, okay? This section, you will need to look back at your question log to find the question that fits. For this section, key ideas from the source, you need to look back at the graphic organizers at the top of the document to copy and paste key information. Here, you need to copy and paste links to articles. Okay? So, you need to do these steps, okay? And feel free to come back to this video and pause at any moment by going back to the very top of your page, scrolling all the way up when you have all these graphic organizers, right? So if you have a quote here that you want to use, you copy it, you click down to go to your US research, right? And then you would actually edit, paste that, right? And this isn't real information, but you would paste it here, okay? And then you would talk about the question that fits with it, okay? And say, okay, maybe I'm going to use this in slide 8, okay? That way, as soon as you've gotten all the information from the organizers above, you can then go back and actually delete the organizers, okay? That way, you don't have to have 20 pages on your research document, right? And so I'll show you what that looks like. You'll want to go back, you'll want to go to that important information. But when you scroll up here, all these graphic organizers, you can actually just copy them and scroll up and delete this entire background research section. Just don't even need the entire background research section. Okay, so that way it'll start here with your key terms, okay? Then you have your research questions, okay? Then you'd have your US research and your foreign research logs, okay? And this should be filled out with all of the information from those other graphic organizers that you took before you deleted them, okay? And then we have this final section of categories, all right? And I know this is a long video, but at this point, you may pause, okay, if you need to, and start organizing your research if you haven't already. If you already organized your research, okay, and you're ready to move on to this last category, then keep listening. This last category is looking at the 3 sections of research that we talked about last week, okay? Economic, social, and political. Now, all this is asking you to do is think about your topic and the specific subcategories that you have been discussing, okay? So for example, for economic, right? One subcategory might be jobs related to, for my topic, it's parental leave, okay? Another might be payment of mothers for parental leave. And maybe I feel like it's different, okay, payment of fathers for parental leave, right? So these are 3 examples within economic. You'll see that they're a little bit more specific. And then related research would be the actual data or quotes or specific information related to these topics. If I were going to do this for social, again, okay, this would be about the people involved or the social movement. So has there been any social movement related to parental leave? Okay, how's the treatment of mothers at companies versus the treatment of fathers at companies? All right, and then lastly, political. So I would want to be looking in America, the state laws on parental leave. In Finland, I might look at the federal law on parental leave. And I might just say in general, the rights of new parents. So again, each of these 3 subcategories are just more specific versions of the political, social, and economic categories. So what I would suggest doing is reviewing your worksheet from last week and reviewing the work that you've already done on these categories, okay, to be able to create the subcategories and start doing research. All right. For today, right, I'm just going to create you guys a little to-do list. For today, your to-do list is this. Number 1, organize research, okay, into US and foreign categories, right? Delete, step 2 is delete research from graphic organizers at the top of the document. Step 3 is to organize research into subcategories of evidence, right, in this very bottom section. Okay, when you're done with that, if you are done with that, you can continue doing additional research. Make sure to save the links to the sources you go to, and also make sure they are credible. Okay, so that's it. You have 4 major steps for today. Okay, you'll want to take a quick look at these steps and review this video. Pause this here if you need to take a look at this closer. Okay, do your very best with this, and we will continue looking at it Tuesday and Wednesday.